everybody. Welcome back to our series of weekly news podcast here at Sozine Classes. So let's get started. The four topics we will be discussing in this week's news podcast is the first one being the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. So among the three different ordinances that were passed by the Government of India in November this year, we will be looking at the criticism and the way forward of this particular ordinance. And the second one is, recently the UP government has passed the conversion ordinance, and we will understand how this ordinance challenges to the orders of the Supreme Court that were earlier given. And the third one, we will be looking at the importance of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as India for the first time after joining this organization in the year 2017 had recently organized its first meeting virtually. And the last article we will be discussing today is about the Attorney General Venugopal had spoken about sensitizing judiciary on women and how to bring up more women judges in the courts. The first article we will be looking in this week's news podcast is, the headlines of the article reads, The Perils of Deregulated Imperfect Agri Markets. So this article is about one of the ordinances that were passed on agriculture recently by the Parliament. As we are all well aware, there were three ordinances that were passed by the Parliament on agriculture, and the farmers of Haryana and Punjab have been protesting to repeal these three ordinances, and the protests are still being continuing outside the Delhi NCR regions. So in this article we will understand one ordinance, that is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020. We will understand the criticisms and the way forward of this article. So the major assumption that is being made on the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Ordinance is that all the mandis are being controlled by the APMCs, that is Agriculture Produce Market Committees, and this is acting as a monopoly for all the mandis in the country. But the majority of the farmers, if you see on a realistic ground, the majority of the farmers are selling their produce outside APMCs, and only 29% of the farmer produce is sold in mandis, and more than 49% of their produce is sold outside the mandis, either to the local private vendors directly or to the local dealers. So the major reason for this is that, the first reason being that there are no sufficient mandis in the country. So the mandis are very less. That is, on an average, the mandis are supposed to be spread across 80 square kilometers, whereas this is not being fulfilled, and out of the permitted 41,000 mandis, only 6,630 mandis are present till the time 2019. So these two are the major reasons for the mandis. So this is the high time our country has to establish more number of mandis and increase the number of mandis. And the second assumption on this ordinance is that the transaction cost of buying from farmers directly is high, and they prefer buying directly from mandis. So this is the reason they prefer buying directly from the mandis. Hence, reliance on private traders and scrapping of mandis is very harmful. And even if the private procure their goods from farmers directly, the cost at which they are procuring their goods from the farmers directly would be at a very low cost, and this would be of a great disadvantage for the farmers. In order to sell their goods and have no wastage, the farmers would be prepared to sell their prices at low cost, without having an MSP margin. So this would be of a great disadvantage for the farmers. And the deregulation of APMCs would be replaced by unregulated traders. And it is also assumed that the taxes and the fees that is being paid for the mandis is going wasted. But the real fact is that these money, that is the taxes and the fees the states pay on these mandis, do not go waste. They are utilized either to set up veterinary hospitals or for sanitation drives. These are few of the factors that are to be considered from the farmer's point of view. And the way forward we can have, that is, in order to have these bills, what is the way forward we can look for? India needs to increase in the density of mandis. So there should be a lot of mandis that need to be established. This would be the first major point, and the expansion of investments in the mandi infrastructure. So the mandi infrastructure should also be improved. And the third one would be for a better APMC's internal reforms. APMC's internal reforms. So as we all know, the recent bills have been pointing out in a way to completely remove APMCs, or if we in general understand APMCs, we have already known for a long period of time have been having few changes that need to be taken place in order to have them functioning properly. So the government can focus on improving and having more internal reforms within the APMC, like the easy entry of new players. So easy entry, reduce the trade collusion, link them with national e-trading portals, platforms, and have a unified national license for traders and a single unified national license for traders and single point levy of market fees are also the steps that can be taken for the right direction of functioning of these and having the farmers satisfied. So this was all about the first article. Let us now look at the second article. So the next article is about the constitutional related issues. So this can be in your GS paper 2. So the issue is about, the headlines of the issue talks, UP's conversion ordinance challenges the Supreme Court. As we are all well aware, on November 26, 2020, the UP government had passed an ordinance on conversions. That the name of the ordinance is the Unlawful Religion Conversion Prohibition Ordinance 2020. What does this ordinance consist of? The ordinance talks about it makes all religious conversions for marriage a non-bailable offence, and the onus will be on the defendant to prove that conversion was not for the marriage. And the notice period to the district magistrate for the religious conversion is given for a period of 2 months. And in case of conversion done by a woman for the sole purpose of marriage, then the marriage would be declared null and void. So if the woman is getting converted for only to marry the male, then this marriage would be considered null. So these were few of the points that were included in the Unlawful Religious Conversion Prohibition Ordinance 2020, and this was passed by the UP government. But this article states that in the recent past, this ordinance that was passed by the UP government challenges and goes against few of the Supreme Court's judgments given in the past on multiple cases like the Hadia case, Puttaswamy case, Lata Singh case and Sonigiri case. So let us understand what Supreme Court had given its judgments on these various cases. And let us understand how this ordinance that was passed by the UP government goes completely against the Supreme Court's judgments in the past. So the author of this article says that the Uttar Pradesh ordinance on religious conversion via marriage breaks a series of Supreme Court judgments which hold that faith, the state and the courts have no jurisdiction over an adult's absolute right to choose a life partner. So the choice of a life partner, whether by marriage or outside, is part of an individual's personhood and identity. So this is what the author tells, and let us understand what these cases, the judgments of these cases were given by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court in Hadia case tells that matters on dress and food or ideas and ideologies of love and partnership are within the central aspect of the identity, and neither the state or the law can decide a choice of partner or limit the free ability of every person to decide on these matters. And in case of KS Puttaswamy, the Supreme Court has given a judgment that the autonomy of an individual was the ability to make the decisions in vital matters of concern of life, and any inference by the state in an adult's right to love or marry has a chilling effect on the freedom. And in the Lata Singh case, the court had said that the constitution will remain strong only if we accept the plurality and diversity of our culture. And relatives who are against this interreligious marriages of the loved couples can cut off their social relations rather than resort to violence and harassment. Over here, I would want to give the recent two examples that have taken place in Telangana, in the state of Telangana, of about honor killing. The two girls hailing from Hyderabad, come from the upper communities, have married to the lower community guys, and both the guys of these two females have been murdered. So this comes under the honor killing case. So instead, the relatives of their family or the family members, the immediate family members like the father, mother or the siblings of that particular individual, can cut off their social relations rather than killing or performing any sort of violence against the couple. And in the Soni Geri case, the Supreme Court had warned judges from playing the super guardians, succumbing to any kind of sentiment of the mother or to the egoism of the father. So the Supreme Court had told the judges to not behave as super guardians and melt down to the issues of their mothers or the fathers, and look at these individuals if they are of the right age. Look at these individuals, and given their right to freedom of choice, they should be respected, and the court has nothing to do with the case with such cases. So this was about the recent ordinance that was passed by the UP government on conversions and how this challenges the series of judgments that were passed by the Supreme Court. Let us now look at the other article. The next article is about the recent virtual conference that was held by India, that is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization conference held by India virtually for the first time after it has become its member in the year 2017. This is under your GS paper 3, that is the international relations. So the conclusion for the first conference held by India was the plan for priority practical measures to be taken for the year 2021 and 2022 to overcome the socio-economic, financial and food consequences of COVID-19 in these regions. With the given decline of India's engagements with various other multilateral platforms like the South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal Forum, or the Regional Cooperation on Economic Partnership. So since India is not actively being a part of these, it sees the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a forum where India and Pakistan, troops like India and Pakistan, can take part in a joint exercise under regional anti-terror structures. The SAO also provides India a convenient channel to meet other Central Asian countries, and also it creates a channel to talk to the more tensed countries with India like China and Pakistan, especially in the recent line of actual control standoff that has taken place between India and China. SAO had played a major role in bringing both these countries to a platform and discussing. So the article tells that SAO has been a grouping worth pursuing as it remains India's geopolitical balance and also helps India maintain its relationship with Western world. So, and the most important thing is that regardless of the differences, the Modi government has consistently maintained the importance of the SAO, and it refers to it as the Asian NATO. So these are few of the important points you can include in your answers on how SAO plays a major role for a country like India. So this is all about this article. Let us move on to the next article. So the last article of today's weekly news podcast is about the Attorney General Venugopal with his invitation to the Supreme Courts to suggest ways for gender sensitize takes this as an opportunity and speaks about how there are less number of women judges in the High Courts and Supreme Courts, and there is no Chief Justice. There is no woman Chief Justice in India so far. He takes this as an opportunity to tell how important it is to have women judges in constitutional courts, which would certainly improve the gender sensitivity in the judiciary. He says that having more women represented, there would be a lot more balanced and empathetic approach in cases involving sexual violence. He quotes few facts stating that there are only 2 female judges in the Supreme Court and there are only 78 female judges in the High Court, with the total permission for about 1113 female judges. In cases of both Supreme Court and High Court, there are only 2 in the Supreme Court and 78 in the High Court. Amongst the 78, 6 High Courts, that is Manipur, Meghalaya, Patna, Tripura, Telangana and Uttarakhand, have 0 female representation as judges. Quoting of an example of a bail being granted to an alleged sexual molester where the conditions of the bail were mentioned, and this being pointed out by 8 women lawyers at the Supreme Court, has brought this to the attention of the top courts as a trivialization of the victim's trauma. And Venugopal, considering this example, tells how important it is to have the dearth of compulsory courses on gender sensitization in law schools. So this is all about how Attorney General Venugopal has taken this opportunity and speaks about the representation, the least, very low representation of female judges in the highest courts like the Supreme Court and the High Court, and the importance of bringing more women representation in law schools. With this, we come to the end of this week's news podcast. For more articles that were being discussed in question and answer format, please log in to the website www.sozineclasses.com. Thank you and have a great day.